Hi everyone, this presentation is called Apex New Features, an honest review from a non-Apex team perspective. And if you've seen a variation of this presentation before, I'm going to let you know this is totally reworked for Apex 22.1. Okay, okay, so I work for Pretius, a Pretius team of over 250 IT experts, including over 45 Apex developers, and we offer outsourcing of resource for your whole Apex projects. We can offer project management, we can offer testing, we can offer development, we can do part of it, we can do all of it. So we're very flexible in how we work. We are at globally from our office in Warsaw in Poland, which means that all our customers are spread out throughout the world, but our headquarters are in Warsaw. It's 5 minutes from the airport, so very easy for you to come see us or us to fly out to come see you. We are well known for our Apex plugins. We have the award-winning Nested Reports plugin. We have the new for this year Practice Developer Tool, which gives you some speed boosts in your Apex development. And we have the Translate Apex.com project, which gives you a head start in any multilingual applications. Okay, so I've seen the Apex team produce some kind of safe harbor slide, and I felt that I needed to do my own in this presentation. I want to be very clear that these views are my own. I will be presenting on another means to introduce these fantastic new features to you. I have a lot of love for Apex. I think it's a fantastic tool. I will be pointing out some bugs though. Bugs usually come with new features, and I would fully expect the Apex team to resolve these bugs as they have done in previous releases as well. So don't take any of these points I raise seriously. It is a form of edutainment. So I'm doing this presentation because I want to explain to you what these features are like to actually use. I'll be explaining what I do or do not like about these features, some occasions where I would use it, and sometimes where I would prefer another region or page item type to use instead of these new features. I'll be pointing out what I actually want to see change in future releases, and I may go off script as well, as each time I do this presentation, it's slightly different from the last time. So let's get started. I want to explain to you that it's hard to keep up with the versions of Apex. Since I announced I was doing this presentation, a new version of Apex has come out. So it's not like the old days where we expected release every year or so. And in fact, in the mid 2010s, there was a 3-year break until they got Page Designer launched. From 2018, we've seen 2 releases every year now, and 2022 is no different, where we've seen 2 releases already. And since the new naming convention in 2018, we've had 10 versions of Apex that have come out since then. So that is a fantastic achievement in a new and growing team. Okay, so the Apex team have said that Apex 22.1 is a monumental release. It's the biggest release so far. It's had numerous new features. I'll explain what these are. It's had a record number of bugs. Some have not even been published as well, so you've got to take their word for it there. It's the largest documentation impact, not only because of the way that the wizards have changed in creating a new application or page, but also this had a product name change as well. Yes, Oracle Application Express is no more, and since 22.1 has come out, it's now known as Oracle Apex. So I won't be demonstrating the new page wizard so much in this presentation, but do watch out for it in case I do use it after all. So these new features are on 22.1, but as I have explained, 22.2 has come out. So I'll be demonstrating on 22.2 so you can get a feel for what 22.2 is, and I'll be pointing out any differences between the 2 versions as well. So and this is the order of the new features I want to go through. I want to talk about data generator, and then something called task definitions. Basically, it's a way of approving things. Then there will be talk on YAML, and then if we've got time, any miscellaneous features as well. Aha, so let's start with data generator. So next slide, please. Okay, so here I'm going to use QuickSQL, and it's fantastic as QuickSQL for creating tables, creating DDL. So here I'm typing the word passengers because it's like a passengers on a flight. They've got an airport, a passport number, a class as well. So they're like passengers on a plane. So you can use this indent system by putting your table name and then a space, indent for a space, and put maybe first name, last name, email, date of birth, and it creates the columns here as well. I'm also using this insert 10, which is a table directive, which says to QuickSQL, please create me 10 insert statements with random data. And you're seeing one insert statement here. So as I type in here, like first name and last name, QuickSQL says, oh, I know what you mean. I'll give you a varchar 2255. That should be enough, first name and last name. And I'll fill it with some data which suits that column name, like a first name and a last name. With email, how about I stick first name and last name together and give you a random email domain as well. For date of birth, when you use date of birth or DOB, QuickSQL doesn't recognize that it's a date, so you've got to tag on the word date here. Or you can have some other column directives like hints like VC64, and it gives it a varchar 264. So with date of birth, it's put sysdate minus 29. That'll do for me. It's a date in the past. But when it comes to these more complex types like baggage, it doesn't understand what baggage is. And so it will give it some Latin string, and that's not really good enough for my test data. So a trick that I use, and this is a problem with QuickSQL, is that I trick it and I say, well, there's a check constraint here for carry on large, trolley or bag, and it picks one of them at random, carry on, and see we've got carry on there. For class, I've done the same. I've done a check constraint, economy business first, and one's come out. It's picked economy in this case. But I don't really want these check constraints on there. So as a little hack, a little workaround, I let it do this script and then I remove that check constraint so it's not there in the first place. With passport numbers are usually big numbers. So I use a check constraint, so it's between two numbers, and I remove that, but at least it gives me a large number of the data there. When it comes to airport, well, there's lots of airports in the world, and I can't do a check constraint for all 42,000 airports and airfields in the world. Yes, I checked with Alexa, and she says 42,000. So I'll let it do a Latin text in this case. So it's kind of like a problem, really, getting this light data. So let's do a demo of data generator, and you can find it in SQL Workshop. And I'm going to flood the passengers table with data. So I've got no data in this table. It's my passengers table in my workspace. It contains no data. And if I click on the table, you can see I've got all those columns that I talked about with all the correct data types that I discussed as well. So to use data generator, I'm going to go to utilities and then data generator. Let's just open this in another tab. So when this gets started, we're going to talk about blueprints. And here's two blueprints I have already, but I'm going to create a new blueprint. So a blueprint is a JSON definition of how data should be supplied into that table. Now I can base it on an existing table or a fictitious table. So say, for example, you have a table and I don't have access to it. You tell me about that table. I'll create data for you. I'll give you the blueprint, and you could upload the blueprint, and then you could populate your table. That's the idea. So you can build it from an existing table or from scratch if you fancy building from scratch, or you can import a blueprint. It says import JSON file. Blueprints are JSON, so for me it should say import blueprint here. It's not just any kind of JSON. It's got to be a valid blueprint. So I'm going to create it from an existing tables. I can paste my list in there. Or I can use maybe a table that I'm very much interested in. So I type in part of the word passengers. I can select multiple tables and I can say how many rows it should generate. Just be careful with this because I picked two here, and when I change one of them, it unticks one. So just be careful about that. So I'm going to pick one and I'm going to call it demo, and then create the blueprint from that table. And you're probably noticing it takes a long time to generate that blueprint. So what it's doing is looking at the table, looking at the columns and saying, airport, maybe I should hook an airport type in there. First name, last name, maybe your person data. But nevertheless, it takes a long time. And when you pick more than one table, it takes even longer. Not two tables twice as long. It's like 4 times as long. But nevertheless, it's done it. It's created the blueprint. Here it's got a name, a display name, description. Here's my table. It's got a name, a display name. Columns even got a display name. It's funny because it's funny because you never see the display name. You just never see it used. But in here, well, we could give it passengers. I'll leave it blank. Sequence is the reference, the order it appears in my table list, but fully on one table. And here's my number of rows, which I could change that later on. So it's given it an ID. An ID is a number GUID, well, it's a number and it's a type of these built-ins. So there's lots of built-ins. There's the Latin text, there's some about airports and chemical abstract service numbers, and there's vehicles and there's subclass and symbol, there's all these different types. It's decided to give me a number GUID number, which if you've worked with GUIDs before, is this number in like the trillions. It's a huge number. But then it says minimum value 1, maximum value 10. Don't matter about that. Don't worry about that because it totally ignores the minimum max when using the built-in here. So it's using a built-in. I could use an inline, like type in myself the values, the sequence, like a growing number or a formula. Yeah, formula. You fill in this box here, which always seems to be there, even though I don't pick formula, and it's there on all the boxes. Okay, so I've got this page designer view. It's not actually page designer like really because I can't drag and drop. Here's me trying to drag and drop. Here's me trying to multiple select. So if I change the order, this sequence number, by the way, this is going up in the hundreds. It's going up in the hundreds, whereas page designer goes up in tens. Page designer likes negative or supports negative numbers. This doesn't like negative numbers. So if I want to change the ID of these, so I have to manually type it in and then press save, and then it refreshes and it's been updated. You see the order has changed. Let's go back to 200 now and save the data. So first name is correctly picked the right built-in first name varchar, and the last name varchar. The email is a person email built-in. That's good. I would just want to demo to you the formula. The formula, you could use something like that. It uses column 1, column 2. Okay, no problem. Let's use first name and then use last name. Okay, some of them are null. They can be required here or not required. If I save it, I'm just going to save it in. The percent blank is 1, like 1% blank. Well, what if I do 5 or 6% blank? I save that and it's still 1. Okay, so maybe 1 means 100, no problem. I'll put 0.5 to make 50%. When I move off, I'll save it. I can't have anything other than 1. So this probably needs a little fix in the future. Okay, date of birth is built in a random date in the past. That's fine. This is a format mask. Just look at it for a few seconds. Yeah, because we'll be using that in the future. Yeah. Some values like baggage can have multiple values. So here's Latin text. So possibly I want to pick maybe an inline, and then I could say carry on, and then I could say like a hold bag, or maybe some luggage, like that. Press 1. That's the frequency it appears. So I press save there. Right, before I get too far in here, let's see if it works. I'm going to preview the data, preview the blueprint data. Have a little think about it. Preview 5 records. You see they've got a first name, a last name, an email, a carry-on bag. I didn't pick multiple value. It's got a class, a passport number. That's a very, very big number. Okay, let's have a look then. So let's do a multiple value there. Base airport. Well, lucky for us, there is an airport built in. If I search for airport and hit enter, there's an airport type, there's a city, there's a country. Now, the one we're looking for is called facility. Yeah, facility name. Right, so let's just save that. Right, I'm being very careful about this. I'm saving it a lot because on occasion, you won't be able to preview, and it won't tell you why you won't be able to preview. Yeah, so it's a bit error prone. So on the class now, okay. So on the class, I'm just going to move this over here because I've got a script that I need to follow. So I'm going to use what's called a custom built-in, a custom data source. There isn't a custom data source here, so we're just going to create our own. So in a custom data source, we'll add a source here with new source name. Okay, let's get this right, get all the spaces out. You can see how this works. Economy class from Joule and then first class from Joule. You can see how that works. It does work because when I pop it, it says tick. When I run it, control enter, if you want a shortcut, it works. It works, yeah? give it a name. Seating class, maybe. Let's just save. Class here. Custom data sources appeared. Which one? Well, seating class. Which column? Undefined. Okay, so that should say class. That is the column, class. So it doesn't work, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get it to work on this version of Apex. I could get it in the pre-release version, but I can't get it to work. This number's a GUID, you can see how that works. So when it comes to previewing the data now, let's see. I think it still should work because I changed it off the custom data source. You can see I can bump the records up there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to abandon this, and then I'm going to go for one that I prepared earlier, which does work. Yeah, so you can see on the class, it uses a custom data source. It's picked the right column this time. So I'm going to generate the data here. Now you can export it to a file. Yeah, you can do that. Export it to a file. And then that's a JSON file there. Let's just save that a random place. You can also do it as a CSV. You can insert that. You've got this row scaling here, which is 1 times. So I've got 10 rows, which is a bit weird because, this one is 10. The other one I said it was 50, but I've abandoned that one. I can scale it up like 10 times, and then I get 100 rows, yeah? So I could insert it into the database. In fact, let's scale it down. Let's do 5 times. So directly into the database, you've got 2 methods. You've got a bulk and you've got a normal. The normal one's supposed to tell you that there are errors, and it lets the good values go through and the bad ones drop out. But it doesn't tell you which ones it's done and which ones it hasn't. Let's just do that now. So in this case, this has worked. Let me just look at my table and just see has it actually worked. Yeah, that's worked. Okay. So I've got these 2 files. So what do I supposed to do with them? I guess I could use the data workshop, and I could load the data. Oh, it was too quick there. Load CSV, XLS, XML, JSON data. Okay, so I'm going to go for the CSV, and that's going to go in the passengers table. When I identify the table, I need to identify the columns. And when it comes to the date of birth, I must use the same format mask. If you use the same format mask, I'll let you look at it for a few seconds earlier, then it's going to work. And if you don't do that, it won't work. But CSV does work. When I load data, let's drop the JSON on and let's just load that. And it says unsupported file. So really, I'm thinking, what's the point of exporting a data-generated JSON file when you can't do anything with it? You can't import it back into Apex. So I think this needs to fix it, or the export needs to fix. So it needs to work, basically, yeah. Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow and just finish off this. Okay, so there's top domains by number of built-ins. So you saw airport, there was a number of fields there. There was 40 in there. You've got car for all car parts. You've got plant for like scientific names of, well, obviously plants, trees, and the families that they belong to, and scientific names, Latin names. You've got the same for animal, yeah, animal there. You've got airport, you've got location. Location is good because it's got these XY coordinates and you can make a map out of it. You've got these generic, which is a mix. You've got element, which is like scientific elements. You've got foods. You've got countries, and you've got this text, and you've got so that was top 10. So you've got 25 more of these domains as well. Okay, we're going to look at human tasks. I like calling it human tasks. Really, it should be task definitions, but it comes under a few names in Apex. So we're going to call it human tasks. Okay, so here is a diagram. So I like to split this out. I created this diagram just to let me know and a way of explaining to you how these task definitions work. Right, if you lost any point in this next few minutes of me talking about it, just think it's a way to get something which you request for your managers to approve for them to approve it. Yeah, it's just getting something approved and then continue on its route. That's all. Okay, so the green tasks are these processes. I've got one process here and I've got one process there. when we start to create a task, we say what the primary key is and what definition we're going to use. So our human task, we'll build this in a moment, is to get someone's seat upgrade from economy to first class. So our passengers table, we will use the primary key, the ID, and we will use a definition called upgrade seat. We don't have that definition yet. We're going to build it. So when you pair them two together, and we can throw in some other settings as well, we can create a task. Now think of this as an internal table within the Apex workspace that monitors your tasks that you are creating. All tasks have got an ID, so not this ID, a task ID. They have a state called claimed or rejected or approved, that kind of thing. Once it's created, you want some way of looking at that task. So this is task monitoring. You've got these pipeline functions, no views, but you've got a pipeline function. My tasks are the ones that I'm working on or could be working on. So I've been assigned tasks. So those are my tasks as a task doer. I've got this admin tasks. So as an admin, I can farm out these tasks to everybody else and delegate and pick up myself, and I've got full access. I've got ones called initiated by me. So, it was me who needed to ask the manager, can you just approve that? That was initiated by me. And when I look at a task in detail, that's a single task. So I've got these 4 views of looking at it. Right, so when I start looking at a task, I want to do something with it. So I want to pick it up, I want to claim it, I want to approve it or reject or release. I can set the priority or give it to somebody else. Each time I manage, like moving these on, events fire. So maybe when I claim it, I could set an event saying, email the initiator and say, I'm working on this now. Matt's going to work on this task. That's an idea. Or at the approval stage, okay, when I approve someone can upgrade their seat, the event should be, we'll upgrade them. Yeah, upgrade them to first class. And that's what we're going to do. So let's do a demo. Right, so where we're going to start? We'll start with our passengers table, and we can lose all that. And look at this button here, create app on our passengers table. The whole application just on our table. So I'm going to modify it a little bit, but not too much. Okay. I'm not a fan of red. Let's use purple. Anything with airports? No, maybe passengers. Yeah, okay. And then I like Redwood Light, so I'm going to pick the Redwood Light theme and Mega Menu. I encourage you to use Mega Menu in your applications. Let's do an about, let's do a PWA, and let's just create the application. So I found this just takes just a few seconds more when creating it from a table than creating it through the just a standard page. So we'll run the application and we'll just have a quick look at it, see what it's given us. I should be able to log in here. Okay, so I've got a dashboard. Oh, let's have a quick look. I'm always curious. Who's got the most baggage? Oh, a large bag? No, a large luggage and a bag. That's the most popular. 5 people have got that. Okay, let's go back. That's my curiosity satisfied. We've got a faceted search here, and we've got a report, and we've got a calendar. Because we've got date of birth here, we've got a calendar for when people were born. Let's have a look at the passengers report. So, the first one, Luciana, is in economy. Let's upgrade her. She's got a date of birth there. Oh, she's got a passport number, and I don't like how that's got commas there. That really annoys me. So I'm going to change that. If I edit Luciana, you've got first name and last name. Right, I want to change the class. I don't want the users typing this in, so I'm going to change the class right after I fix this number here. So that should be saving. If I quick edit, I see the passport number looks nice here. If I change the class, I'm going to change it to a select list. That will be a select list. Where do the values? Something went red. Something went red. He wants the values. Let's do some static values. So we want a con of me, and we want first, and we want business, and then that was the display values. So we need to set them to be the data values there. Fine, we'll take you guys off. save, and then your favorite way of refreshing a modal dialog. This is a modal dialog, by the way. It comes in from the side. I don't know if you've noticed that's the difference from earlier versions of Apex, where it appeared in the middle. It's page 5. I know it's a modal because page numbers changed there from 4, and then I opened up in 5. This, by the way, is one way of refreshing it. So I've got the values there. Cool. So, right, this form, when I submit it, so I hit the button apply changes, what is it doing? It's processing the form, it's updating the data in there. So I don't want it to do that. I want to stop doing that, and I want to do another task when it's saved. Ooh, create process, put it there. And this will be my human task, create. Which human task? I don't have it yet. No problem. Let's go and create it. So here we are, task definitions. And I need to create a task definition now. And I will call it seat change. Yeah, and it's giving me a static ID in case I want to call it through an API. Okay, and my subject will be upgrade of what's she called, Luciana? Okay, let's just call a passenger dot from what's the seat? Oh, I don't know. Let's do old seat to new seat, and all these gaps, these little parameters, we'll fill them in later. So here's the priority. Here's 2 people who can work on it. Here's my admin. Let's do that later. In fact, it'll tell me right now that I need to set it up, like instructing me to do it. Yeah, now create. Very demanding owners and participants and parameters. Well, I'll do that when I get around to it. Okay, so now it's saying there's a task details page. So when someone's working on the task, you want to display that as well, he moved several times before. Oh, he's a frequent flyer. You might want to change all that on a task page if you've got one. So if I've got one, I just type the number in. Like, what was it, page 70? Usually in Apex, you get this little up arrow, and it tells you which one to go to. Well, I haven't got the up arrow, and I don't even what to put a URL in. So I don't know how to work it. Even if I had a URL, I need to put parameters in, wouldn't I? So I'm just going to leave it blank and use this button, create a task details page. It says, you have not specified a page number. Should we use the next available page number? Should we use? Apex doesn't really talk to me like this, but okay, let's just go with it. Yes, we should use it. So it'll create, it's created a page 7 there. Have you seen? It wasn't page 70, it was page 7. Okay, it's kicked me out of here. Okay, and I need to go back. Let's just click this return to page so it doesn't kick me out anymore. Okay, now it's got these things called actions. Actions are down the bottom here. Actions are like when an event happens, when it gets approved, move it on. So the actions have got to work on some kind of data, don't they? So you can pick data here. I've had troubles with that. Let's use SQL query, and I've got a SQL query here, and basically I'm picking from the passengers table, yeah, where the ID is the task ID. Apex, right? I didn't just make that up. That is on the help here. It tells you to use this. When it's task ID, it's not the ID of the tasks table in Apex. It's actually the ID of the action ID. Yeah, so it's a bit worded a bit strange, but you've got that. Then I've got first name and then pipe on with the last name. I'll call it passenger. Ooh, I know. Let's put it in there, passenger. And then we've got class as old seat in there. So I've got passenger's seat, his current class, and his name. When am I going to get the new seat from, though? Okay, so I don't actually know the new seat until I create the task. And then I can just tell Apex about it. So we'll fill that in later, and that's called a parameter. In fact, we'll do it right now. So we're going to add row, static ID, new seat, that's all it is. So this required say, well, you can't start a new task without it being populated, and it's got to be visible. So visible means in the details page, do I want my owner of the task to see it or not? And that's visible. Like sometimes I might pass some internal IDs or something that makes no sense to them. I'll turn that to be no for those internal IDs. Then you've got this due date, so it can be due on maybe in 1 hour. But if you're upgrading your seats, probably you want to know in an hour whether you've got that or not. So what's this system? PT1H, I guess that's 1 hour. And the PT, well, I did some research into that, and that's using this ISO standard 8601 standard for international time intervals and time formats. So that's not just something that's made up. Then I've got these participants. So I'm going to use a potential owner. Someone could potentially work on it. Well, I've got this user called Bo, so Bo could work on it. But usually I would have like a SQL query instead, and I would select from my users table. So I've got two users. I've got Bo from Joule, you and I'll select demo from, and you probably use your users table. Yeah. I do have an admin as well. So, and the admin is my email address. In fact, you've got to put this in uppercase for some reason. It doesn't really work well with lowercase. So I've got my parameters almost done here. Right, I'm going to save the page because this button takes me to a modal dialog, well, to another page, and it wants me to save my changes first. So I'm going to, yep, fine. I'm going to add an action here, and this one will be upgrade, an actual upgrade. And you can run some code or you can send an email. Remember I told you about when you pick up a task, you can send an email out, and you can use email templates and you can use parameters on them. So that's fantastic. Here's my events. So pick up, claim, delegate, release, I don't want it anymore, cancel the whole thing when I create a task just before it expires or when it expires. I'm going to use complete. Which one? When I approve it. I'll just put a message, approved. And in my code, well, here I actually want to upgrade it now. I actually want to do the action. So what I'm going to do here is update passengers, set class is new seat, that parameter, where the ID is the one I've been using. And that's all it is. So I've created my task definition and my actions. I'm all ready to use a human task. So if I edit this page 5 now, and we'll add a create human task process. When the page is submit, create process, and it will be human task create. Now I can put a definition, seat change. What is the primary key? Well, I've got it here. It's P5 ID. What is the new seat? It's red because it's, remember, it's a acquired field. Well, it's the item I've got, and it's the class. It's the class. There. So I'm all set now. Right, it's saved. Let's reload the frame. Right, economy, Luciana, it's your lucky day. You're going to first class. Now apply. Ta-da! It's done it. She's still economy for now, but she's created a task. So I want to see some like visualization now to see these tasks and get people working on them. So I can create another page for this, and this is right down here, a task list, but not just any task list, a unified task list. So the idea for unified task list is you create it once in one application, and then you just dip into that task list, and then you're working within one task list for all your applications, which could potentially have tasks to work on. And there's 3 flavors. There's the my tasks, admin and initiated by me, and I'm just going to go quickly through and just create them all. Bear in mind the user I'm using is the admin, yeah? So apologies about this, but I'm just going to quickly create them all. So I think I'm missing one, which is the initiated by me. By me. Let's put a lowercase b. Okay, so I've got all the pages now. Yep, all done. So in my mega menu, I should have I should see them here. I can. So let's see initiated by me. So Luciana was initiated by me to be upgraded. And there I can see the upgrade from economy to first. There it is. It's been unassigned. But what's all this? What's all these ones here? So all these ones come from another come from other applications. So here's my pipeline function. I just need to hook on details app ID equals app ID, and I fixed it. Yeah. So I need to go through all my pages and change this now. Now, don't try not to use the app ID column because that's always null. That makes more sense, doesn't it? An app ID column, but that makes no sense because it's always null, and there's been a bug logged to fix it, and I don't know how they're going to fix it. They're either going to populate it or remove the column. You can't really remove the column because it's there now. It's there in the markup. Okay, so we got that. It's been unassigned. Okay, cool. Right, let's have another user. Okay, let's just take all that, and then we'll go into a private window and same app. So that can stick over there, and this can stick over here. Yep. Right, so we've got the bow user, and let's go into my tasks. So Bio is a potential owner. So she can click on that. It's been unassigned. She can improve it or reject it straight away. Over here, you can see the details. So it's going to first. It's other priority here. You can add a comment saying, I got this. So I got this to work on. And you can add a comment there and you can see the history. You can decide to claim the task. So I'll have this, please. So now it's being claimed. That refreshes. Let's refresh this. So there's a seat change there. Now it's been assigned to BO. You can click that again, and then you can do some other things. So you could say request information. Are you sure you want to upgrade? So then it disappears from Bo's list, and it comes back to this user as information requested. Now you could send emails as all these events are happening, and you say, are you sure? Well, I'm going to submit information. Yes, I'm sure. That's submitted. Goes back to over here, and now they'll look at it. It's been reassigned back to that person. They can read the conversation. They can see all the history. Finally, they approve it. Drops off their list. This one is set to completed. And when we go to the passenger report, we can see upgraded to first class. Great. So I think that's all. That that resolves all that. I think we'll go back to the slideshow now. Yeah, so well, just before we leave that, I think it is a really good feature. I'm very pleased with it. There's not a lot of problems I've found with it. I like that you can customize your application to see the details page. Whenever I get this request of workflow, there's always a bunch of questions I asked. Well, like who can approve it? Well, what if that person's on holiday? What if it goes from this status to this status? Do I need to build a screen just to support this, or do I need to build a system to support multiple workflows? So it's always a lot of work involved, but with this human tasks, it takes it away from you. So I recommend using it, and I think it's a welcome feature for Apex. So there's YAML format. So if I go to where did I go to share commands? If I go to my application, I can export my application. So I export it here. So I can split it into multiple files here. And now I can use a readable format. So I can use XML. Now if I download this, because I split it, it's going to just take a little bit longer to export it. I also had JSON there as a potential format. I'll just save that random place again and open the zip up and see what we've got inside. So we've got our app, we've got our install and our application all split into pages. However, we've got a readable, and this is in YAML. So I've got one for each page here. Remember I was creating 8, 9, 10 for my task pages. In share components, look, I've got my task definitions there. Let's have a quick look at it. So here we go, VS Code, and I've got my YAML here. So you can see YAML is this indented format. I've got headings by colon. This is like a parent. Anything that's null doesn't appear. I've got SQL queries, very, very readable, single quote. Nothing is quoted really here. Everything is yeah, very, very readable. So that's all YAML. And so the purpose of YAML is you can do comparisons very, very easy. Let's just go back to the report to the slideshow, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. So you would normally download SQL as your file format, and you can see this is lines up to 58 and then 59 onwards. So it looks like this, and you look at it and think, oh, it's kind of readable. It's kind of readable. I've got P5 ID. I think it's a number. It's like 10th in a region. Where's my region? It's hard to find. Possibly, I don't know. It's hard to find really. And then I've got this is persistent. Yeah. N, what do you mean? Protection level S? What's that? Attribute 1? Look at this one. This has got attribute 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's got Y and N both. And you think, well, really, what is it, and how can I make sense of it? But currently, it's the only way of importing your application through SQL. Now with YAML, look how nice this looks. So you've got this ID here, identification, so P5 ID. So if you look down here, well, maybe the S meant session level. So now we've got readable text. We've got width and height, and you can see quite clearly this is a text area. It's got labels, and these IDs refer back to the internal IDs. So this first name refers to a region. The region is called passenger. The passenger's got this ID here. It's possible, you could have two regions called passenger, and that's why the ID is important, because you know which region it relates to. The cool feature is you've got these YAML comparisons, so you know exactly what's going on here. So here, I've changed this is the before and this is the after. I've changed the first name's sequence. So the first name sequence went from 20 to 30, switching places with surname. However, all the line numbers still add up. So if I switched it around with another field and the other field appeared above it, all this would go red, and then the surname would go red, and you can see big blocks moving. But now it keeps it in the same position, and you can see it's done several cases where it's jumped the fields around and making small changes. Okay, I just want to say that there was no change in the template. It says exactly the same. If I had changed the template, you would see the name and ID change. If I would change the name of the template, you would see the name change but not the ID. If I changed it to another template called optional floating, then the ID would change but not the label. So it's very easy to make sense of things. SQL statements, well, this uses this little pipe here. This is YAML notation. Yep, YAML notation uses this little pipe here to say it's a multi-line is coming up. So here I can paste in the full SQL. The SQL is pasted in. I can copy that out. I can paste it somewhere else. I can run it straight away without any formatting. So it's a very welcome feature. I did some analysis on this, and YAML only contains values, whereas an attribute, there's no nulls. It's only exportable in full app. You can't export it at page level, and that's readable for some reason. It's not yet importable. If it was importable, we could do full merges with the YAML format and import it, and it's probably the future of where it's going to go. I believe it is on the roadmap, though. Binary files are not exported. So in my static files, all text files come out as readable. Of course, they are readable. But a binary file, like an image, it's not exportable. So even if I could import the YAML, it's not my full application because it's missing some files. A way of getting binary files into text readable format is in base64. Yeah, it needs to be there before full apps are importable. YAML is always split. You can't get a single file. It's always split. It's probably going to be the future of Apex imports exports for faster and easier merging and possible backporting. I didn't really think of this, but you can't import an Apex application to a lower version of Apex, but maybe you might have some backporting. So I wanted to just discuss with you. There's token row search as a miscellaneous feature for um, 22.1. You can have if I search for a word like large bag, um, it supports bag large as the search, because each of those are called tokens, and it puts them in the search string no matter what order. You can double quote it like in Google, and you can bring back large bag exactly like that. You can export the static files directly from your workspace, where it was very awkward to do that. Now you can do it through the export page. List subscriptions. You can now subscribe a list. It gives you an interactive grid editing of these list features. So it means you can have one list supporting navigation, and all your applications will subscribe to that list and use that list. Monaco, there's been some changes in there for your code editor. It displays bad characters. It can auto suggest things. CKE editor has been changed significantly as well. You can have full editor. You can have these plugins which extend the feature. For example, pasting in an image into the rich text editor is not supported, but with a plugin, it is supported, and you can import that and back to that base 64 that is supported. So I always end this presentation with a roadmap. So the roadmap hasn't changed significantly. In fact, all these paired ones have all come from the statement of direction, and it's the same statement of direction as of a year ago. The only thing that's different is this additional REST source connectors, which is very interesting. So these REST source connectors types to seamlessly integrate with REST APIs from external vendors. So we'll just have to watch that space. So that's all I wanted to talk to you today in this presentation. Come visit us on www.pretius.com. Or drop me an email, mulvaney@pretius.com. Follow me on Twitter, follow Pretius Software, or find us on Facebook. So thank you very much for your time spending with me today and watching this video.